Welcome to Pixels to Polygons, the 40-bit adventure. I'm your boy Yang. Now I know we've all been there. Playing through a game, roll credits, boom, start a second playthrough, just because you were loving it that much. But how many times have you thought, dang, I wish I could forget my playthrough just so I could play it again to experience it for the very first time? Not because it was perfect or anything, it just struck a chord with you. You know, that feeling to discover it all over again. I've played a lot of games over 3.5 decades. And I've put together 5 games that I would love to experience again for the very first time. Coming in at number 5, we have the original Donkey Kong Country. Man, I love this game. Matter of fact, the first time I played this game was at my buddy Stewart's house. He was my neighbor at the time, and he had rented it. And I remember being blown away at the graphics on this game. I mean, this was like mind-blowing at the time for the Super Nintendo with the 3D models. But not to mention, I loved Super Mario World. I think most of us pretty much do. But Donkey Kong the platforming in Donkey Kong Country just felt like Mario World, but on steroids. It was just so much more vast. All the little secrets hidden in all the levels. Of course, you know, instead of coins, you had the bananas. Everything was just so cool to collect in that game. And the levels just felt so, I guess, alive is what I want to say. And also, another big reason I would love to experience this game again for the first time is because of the nostalgia attached to it. I remember I'd actually eventually owned this game. And it was later that year at Christmas. I remember my sister Tina bought me this game when I was a kid. I didn't own many games growing up. You know, we rented most of our games. But I just remember we went to the mall near us here where we live, and she was buying gifts for, you know, my brother, you know, everybody else. But apparently, I guess while we were in the mall and I was over there playing in the arcade, I'm pretty sure she snuck over to KB Toys, and that's when she got this game for me. I remember I was a little upset because I was thinking I wouldn't get anything for Christmas. But of course, to my surprise, when I opened up Donkey Kong Country. And that game just always will hold a special place in my heart. And I would just love to experience the whole thing again. But another thing that sticks out is I remember the first time that I actually beat this game. And I sat there and I just watched the credits roll. And I was just so excited, but yet I was so sad that it was over. It was one of the first games that I actually had that feeling. That's happened many times over the years. But when I was kind of upset that it was over. But I just immediately started it over. I love this game, and I would just love to experience it again. Coming in at number 4, we have Mass Effect 2 on the Xbox 360. This game took me by complete surprise. Because weirdly enough, I didn't like the first one, the first time I played it. So the original Mass Effect was actually recommended to me by my friend Mark. Not that big of a gamer. So if he recommended it to me, I was like, I gotta try it out. He let me borrow it. I was like, this isn't really for me. Fast forward down the road. I got to know one of the managers at a local GameStop through a local friend of mine, another friend of mine. Anyway, so I was in there looking for a new game to play. I was telling him, you know, I was looking for something like good RPG, something like that, something good, long I can sink my teeth into. And he asked me if I knew about Mass Effect 2, and I told him I really didn't like the first one. And this game had already been out a while, because he was like, Yanni, I got it pre-owned for $15. If you don't like it, you can bring it back. He's like, I'm telling you, just get it and, you know, give it a shot. I was like, okay. Well, later that night, Blaze got online, we got in a party, and he was like, hey man, what do you think of the game? I had been playing the game for like 6 hours at that point. I was hooked. And I loved every minute of Mass Effect 2. From the story building, the just traveling the Milky Way, going from planet, meeting the different races, making the choices actually mattered through the adventure. And everything like that, through the side missions and things like that. It was just, I felt so fleshed out. It was just, man, it's just something to experience. I tell everyone, that is a trilogy every gamer should experience, but specifically Mass Effect 2. And that just, again, took me by total surprise, because it went from a game that I was like, this isn't for me, to becoming definitely one of my top 10 series of all time. So, definitely want to experience it again for the first time is Mass Effect 2. Oh, and Mass Effect 2, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the first games I ever actually bought all the DLC for. Because my internet at the time was terrible. And I remember purchasing it, and I had to leave it on my Xbox on overnight. I went to work the next day, got home that afternoon, and still had to wait like another hour. It literally took like 19 hours to download. That's how bad the internet, well, me and my roommate had. But I didn't care. I waited, and again, I played it. I loved it. So, coming in at number 3, we have Halo Combat Evolved on the original Xbox. Man, Halo. The first time I played Halo blew my mind. So, story behind that is, I was like 16 at the time, I think, yeah. And I went to go hang out with my buddy Jordan at his place with him and his roommate. And we actually ended up getting a snowstorm. So we got snowed in for a couple days. I only had a little bit of cash. He only had a little bit of cash. So we pooled our money together. We walked over to the food line that was near his house. We bought as many oodles and noodles as we could to, last us for a couple days. And we bought 1 pack of community cigarettes to share between the two of us. So we sat inside, eating oodles and noodles, smoking, and playing video games for 2 days. And, well, we watched movies too, because that weekend was my introduction to the Harry Potter series too, which that was a whole thing as well. So, turned out to be a pretty cool snow-in. But, just landing on Halo for the first time, and the way the first-person shooter felt on the Xbox with those controllers. I had played a lot of first-person shooters on console. I loved them. From the GoldenEye, Duke Nukem, the Doom games, Hexen on the 64. I know a lot of people talk junk about that game, but I really enjoyed that game growing up. But anyway, Halo though, it's the reason why I was like, I have to get an Xbox. Like, I want to get an Xbox now, because Halo pushed me over that edge and eventually made Xbox my primary console after that. But each level just felt so vast, and dealing with the Covenant, being at war with this multi-raced, super religious group. Just, I don't know, it all felt so fresh and new. And then halfway through it, spoiler if you've never played it or know anything about it, they introduced the Flood, which is this parasitic race, which totally kind of flips the narrative on its head, because it's the enemy of everyone. And it's just, oh man. Experiencing Halo for the first time is just, it was just magical in a sense. And again, it is pretty much one of the main reasons why today my main console is Xbox. I ended up getting the original Xbox, and PlayStation went on the back burner after that. But yes, I mean, I love the Halo series, but Combat Evolved, man, it was just awesome. Little disclaimer before we get to number 2. Number 1 and number 2 can easily be interchanged at any given time. I just had to make a list. So, it's the list I made. Just wanted to get that out of the way. But at number 2, we have Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1. I could rant for days about this game. This game, this is one of the first games I absolutely obsessed over. And I didn't even have a PlayStation at the time. So my buddy Ryan and his brother Eric, they got this game. And he kept telling me, he's like, Yanni, man, this game we got, it's crazy. Da-da-da-da-da. Like, you know, just talking about it. Anyway, I went over there. I used to stay the night with them all the time. I went over there to stay the night, and we were playing this game. And I'm blown away. We played through the first bombing sequence of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know how many times. And the reason being is because they got this game, but we didn't have a memory card. Or they didn't have a memory card. So whenever we died, we literally had to start at the beginning. And I remember one of the furthest points we had gotten without, you know, of course, before we died, was, of course, you meet Aerith, well, Ares at the time. But anyway, you meet Aerith in the church and everything. And when you're following her to the playground, I remember what the demon house or whatever, those enemies, God. Anyway, and we were finally like, dude, like, we gotta, anyway, we were talking to his mom. She was like, all right, we were like, can we please get a memory card? Da, 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 da. And we went to the store and they got us the memory card. And I remember we played that game together so much. There was even times during the week of school, like, Ryan and Eric were like, nah, we'll wait till Yanni comes over this weekend, you know, we grind a little bit, but they wouldn't move the story. Like, they waited on me, and like, that was just, oh man, I thought about that game day and night. And then when I finally got a PlayStation and got Final Fantasy VII, oh my God. Again, experiencing that game was nothing. There was nothing like it before it. Nothing like anything like Final Fantasy VII. The storytelling, the combat was very intricate with the materia system. It felt complicated, but once you figured it out, it was pretty simple. I love the materia system, and you can make some pretty badass combos. And of course, you know, the various party members: Cloud, Classic, Barrett, Red. Who doesn't love Tifa? Yes, Tifa will always have a place in our hearts. Same thing with Aerith. Then you had the optional ones like Yuffie and Vincent you could find. Sid. Kate Sith, cool, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. But just, I mean, Sephiroth, he's just an iconic villain. Oh, man. I love this game. And again, it helped mold me who I am as a gamer. And I had played JRPGs before that, but nothing on this scale. And I feel like, this is a weird way to put it, after Final Fantasy VII, I really dove into the JRPG genre. And I loved it. I mean, the PS1 was a JRPG machine. But nothing could, like, they were great games, but none of them compared to Final Fantasy VII. It's like, I got that first rush, that first high, I guess you could say, from Final Fantasy VII. And here we are 30-some years later, and I'm still chasing that high. We've gotten close, don't get me wrong. I've gotten close many times with some games. But man, just Final Fantasy VII is a very special place in my heart. And I would love to have the feeling of experiencing it for the first time all over again. There's just so many iconic scenes. I'm not going to spoil one of them if you don't know it. But again, it's one of the most infamous scenes in gaming. or the twist with this. Anyway, it's, if you've never played it, go play it. It's fantastic and is one of the, if not the best video games of all time. Here we are at number 1. Now, between Final Fantasy VII and this game here at number 1, if there was some magical button I could push to erase my memory of either one of those games to experience them for the first time, again, these are the 2 games that I would use that button on. So at number 1, we have The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64. This game helped define a generation of gamers. This game, I remember waiting on this game, trying to read up and find how much information I could about this game. But when this game finally released, I had to go to Blockbuster and get it. I knew that I was going to ask for it for Christmas, but I had to go get it. And I remember getting that game, going back home to the apartment that we lived in, and I popped it in. And the moment you wake up in Cocorico Village and you go see the Deku Tree and going through that dungeon, oh my god, for the first time, young Link just, like, all right, like, yes, like we're starting this adventure, And then the first time you open up Hyrule Field, oh man, it's just, I love that game. And also I remember, again, I didn't own many games. Like I've said many times, I didn't own many games growing up. But that year, my mom always usually worked holidays, but she tried to work like the very early shift. And I remember Christmas Eve, she was working the later shift. She worked till like 2 o'clock that night. Shift was like 7 to 2. So I was at my Aunt Anne's house, and everybody's doing Christmas and stuff, But I remember sitting on the couch there, and everybody's kind of opening up gifts and whatnot. It was my cousins and them, their brothers, sisters, and things like that. I didn't really have much to open. And, probably got me a little something. That was about it. But Mom had given her a gift to give me to open. And I never forget sitting there at my aunt's house. And I remember my Aunt Anne handing me that game. Well, she handed me the gift. And I looked at her and I said, I know it. I knew what it was. Because I begged my mom for that game. And I ripped open that and I just sat there and I held it and I was looking at that box. And I'd already played it because I'd rented it a couple times before then. But I just still could not wait to get home. And when I got home, I was still playing that game when my mom got home from work. And I just, again, is another Christmas memory that, that one, attached to my mom. But anyway, going through it, the game and the multiple dungeons and everything as young Link. But when you go into the Temple of Time and you come out as adult Link, goosebumps. Just the discovery in that game, and of course the music. Between both Final Fantasy VII 2, the soundtrack, phenomenal. I listen to it in the car, even today. But same thing with Ocarina of Time. The music is just iconic. You find the songs, you play them on the ocarina. It's, again, these titles defined a generation of gamers, man. And they were phenomenal games. And no, they weren't perfect. I mean, granted, Ocarina of Time, if I'm not mistaken, does have the highest Metacritic score of all time. Or at least as of this recording, it was, or held it for almost 30 years. But, no, not perfect. But the experience of it is, for millions of people I know, feel the same way I do about this game. I don't want to go back and change anything about this game. I would just love to go back and rediscover it for the first time. So that's my list. The 5 games I wish I could go back and play for the first time. What'd you guys think of my list? Or what games would make it on your list? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you like this, smash that like button, subscribe, and share with a friend or two. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching Pixels to Polygons, the 40-bit adventure. I'll see you next time.